Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. In our last episode, we explored Chapter 7 of Handbook of Abhidhamma Studies, Volume 3, where we studied jhana and path consciousness in expanded detail. We saw how jhana factors condition concentration, how concentration conditions insight, and how path consciousness arises step by step, cutting fetters and leading toward liberation. Today we move into Chapter 8, Nibbāna and Conditionality. This chapter is especially profound because it explains Nibbāna as the unconditioned reality. It contrasts Nibbāna with all conditioned dhammas. It shows how conditional relations cease at enlightenment, leaving only realization of the unconditioned. And it emphasizes that while Nibbāna is beyond conditions, it is realized through conditioned practice. So, if you've ever wondered, what is Nibbāna in relation to conditionality? How does enlightenment break the chain of conditions? How can the unconditioned be realized through conditioned practice? This chapter will guide us. In Abhidhamma, all phenomena are classified as conditioned or unconditioned. Conditioned phenomena, consciousness, mental factors, matter, arise due to causes and conditions. They are impermanent, suffering, and not self. Nibbāna is different. It is the unconditioned reality. It does not arise, it does not cease, it is not conditioned. Nibbāna is the cessation of suffering, the extinguishing of greed, hatred, and delusion. It is described as peace, bliss, freedom. But these are just words pointing to something beyond ordinary experience. So Nibbāna stands apart from all conditioned dhammas. It is the unconditioned reality, the ultimate goal of practice. To understand Nibbāna, we must contrast it with conditioned dhammas. Conditioned dhammas arise due to causes. For example, consciousness arises due to an object, a sense organ, and attention. Matter arises due to karma, consciousness, temperature, and nutriment. Conditioned dhammas are impermanent. They arise, persist briefly, and cease. Nibbāna is unconditioned. It does not arise due to causes. It does not cease. It is timeless. This contrast highlights the uniqueness of Nibbāna. It is not part of the cycle of conditionality. It is beyond conditions. So while conditioned dhammas are impermanent and suffering, Nibbāna is unconditioned and peaceful. At enlightenment, conditional relations cease. Ignorance ceases. Formations cease. Consciousness ceases. Name and form ceases. The whole chain of dependent origination ceases. What remains is Nibbāna, the unconditioned reality. This shows that enlightenment is the breaking of conditions. It is the cessation of the cycle of samsara. For example, when an arahant attains enlightenment, ignorance ceases. Without ignorance, formations cease. Without formations, consciousness ceases, and so on until suffering ceases. This cessation is Nibbāna. It is the realization of the unconditioned beyond conditional relations. Although Nibbāna is unconditioned, it is realized through conditioned practice. The path, morality, concentration, wisdom is conditioned. Jhana is conditioned. Insight is conditioned. These conditioned practices purify the mind, weaken defilements, and lead to the realization of Nibbāna. For example, mindfulness is conditioned, concentration is conditioned, wisdom is conditioned. Together, they condition the arising of path consciousness, which realizes Nibbāna. This shows the paradox. Nibbāna is unconditioned, but it is realized through conditioned practice. So while Nibbāna is beyond conditions, the path to Nibbāna is conditioned. How does this help us in practice? By reflecting on Nibbāna as the unconditioned, we strengthen our motivation. We remember that the goal is not just temporary peace, but the complete cessation of suffering. By observing conditioned phenomena, we see their impermanence. We see that they arise and cease due to conditions. This insight inclines the mind toward Nibbāna. By practicing mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom, we cultivate the conditions that lead to the realization of the unconditioned. So, reflection on Nibbāna and conditionality inspires practice. It reminds us of the ultimate goal. Some critics misunderstand Nibbāna as annihilation, but it is not the destruction of a self, it is the cessation of suffering, the realization of the unconditioned. Others say Nibbāna is too abstract, but the Buddha taught that it is real, that it can be experienced, and that it is the goal of practice. So while words cannot capture it fully, the path leads to its direct realization. So, to conclude, Chapter 8 of Volume 3 explains Nibbāna and conditionality. We've learned that Nibbāna is the unconditioned reality, contrasting it with all conditioned dhammas. We've seen how conditional relations cease at enlightenment, leaving only the realization of the unconditioned, and we've emphasized that while Nibbāna is beyond conditions, it is realized through conditioned practice. Most importantly, we've seen how this helps us in practice. By reflecting on Nibbāna and conditionality, we deepen insight and move toward liberation. Thank you so much for joining me in this deep dive into Chapter 8 of Handbook of Abhidhamma Studies, Volume 3. We've journeyed through Nibbāna as the unconditioned reality, contrasting it with conditioned dhammas, seeing how conditional relations cease at enlightenment, and reflecting on how Nibbāna is realized through conditioned practice. If you found this exploration helpful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who might be interested in Buddhist philosophy and meditation. In our next episode, we'll move into Chapter 9, where we explore the practical application of conditional relations, seeing how insight meditation is essentially the observation of conditionality in daily life. Until then, may you be well, may you be peaceful, and may you continue your journey into wisdom.